Hey guys, welcome to the Gorekeeper. Today we're going to do a top 10 list. We're going to do my personal top 10 most overrated horror films of all time. Disclaimer, this does not necessarily mean they are bad films. They are just films that I think don't deserve the credit that they generally get. So let's go over some. Number 10, we have Paranormal Activity. This has been hailed as the best found footage film since the Blair Witch Project. And again, I don't think this is a bad film, but there are problems with it. I think the effects are okay. They're believable, I guess. But look at these audience testings. I mean, I went to go see this in theaters, and I didn't get any reactions like this whatsoever. The acting, I think, is subpar. The characters, I don't think, are relatable at all. There's nothing to grab onto for them. I didn't care that this was happening to the main characters. The story is not really there's not really a story there, I guess. The further ones explain more what's going into it, but there's no real story, and that's what bugs me the most. Is that it's just some people like it because it feels kind of real. Like there's everyday people filming their everyday life, so it's boring. And I think this movie is what it is. It's boring. I don't know. It's a little bit overrated. I think there are better found footage films out there. I don't think it beats Blair Witch. I don't think it's up there in that level. Personally, I like the third Paranormal Activity. I like Paranormal Activity 3 the most out of all of them. But yeah, it's overrated to me. It's just overrated. Number 9 is The Ring. It's the American version, which I don't think is very good. The acting is fine, I guess. My big problems with it are I don't like horror that are based with like technology, you know? I'm not a big fan of that. Like Pulse was like that. Fear.com did stuff like that. I just think it dates your movie really bad. Number 2, I just think it's dumb. Like, how and why does a spirit or whatever curse pick a technology? Like in this movie, it's a VHS and you get a phone call on top of it too, going 7 days. You know, I just think that's stupid. I just don't like it. I don't like the cinematography in this movie. It's very blue toned. I get what they were going for with that, you know, with like the coldness and, you know, Samara was in the water and stuff, so it all makes sense in that regard. But I hate when movies have that blue tone to it. It just makes it feel cheaper to me for some reason. I don't know why. It just does. The acting is fine. I don't have any big problems with acting. Even the kid actor, I think, did an okay job. The VHS stuff, the stuff that's actually on the VHS in the movie, I think is creepy. It's a creepy movie, but this would be much suited better for a short film versus a feature length. I just don't think there's enough there to warrant a full length movie. None of the kills are particularly interesting. Samara's not that interesting looking. You know, the effects I think are fine, I guess, but you don't get to see them for very long. It's very quick cut stuff. The editing is really not there for me. It's just not well paced with the editing, you know. It's just not a well paced movie. It just feels like a slog to sit through. It's kind of confusing at some points. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I just think it's overrated. I just don't like it. Okay. I'd never seen the Japanese version. I think I already said that, but yeah, I don't know. Let's move on. I call the next movie number 9 actually on accident, and it's actually number 8. So let's move on to number 8. Number 9, we have Jaws. This is a creature feature, so it is a horror movie. I don't care what you say. This is a horror movie. If it's not a horror movie, I don't know what it is. It's a creature feature. It's about a freaking shark. So it is a horror movie, in my opinion. And again, I don't think Jaws is a bad movie. It's an alright movie. The problem with Jaws is it's boring as all hell. When I go into a shark movie, I want to see, you know, just bananas stuff, just craziness. because that's, for me, that's what a creature should be. It should just be balls to the wall, crazy. I don't want it. It's not even that Jaws is necessarily a realistic horror movie. You know, it's hard to explain. I just think it's badly paced. And you don't see the shark till like the last 15 minutes. The shark doesn't look good. It doesn't hold up. And this is one of those movies, along with another one on this list that you'll see later, that people always goes, you know, on the back of videos you always see, oh, it does for blank what Jaws did for water, you know, and like, maybe it did back in the day. I don't know. I wasn't born yet, so like, I don't know. But seeing this movie as a kid never really had an effect on me. And I'm someone who has a phobia of sharks. I cannot stand sharks. They drive me crazy. But this movie just doesn't do it for me. It's just, there's nothing there. Bland wooden characters, except for one who I can't remember the name of off the top of my head. Because I don't care about this movie. I think my favorite shark movie, and it's not even a good movie again, it's just my favorite one, is probably Deep Blue Sea. It's fun. There's cool characters in there. I like LL Cool J in that movie, and Michael Rappaport's character. But this isn't a video about Deep Blue Sea. This is... And again, don't come and attack me. I'm not saying Deep Blue Sea is a better movie than Jaws. I just think it's more enjoyable to watch. Jaws is a finely made movie. I just don't think it gets... I don't think it should get the horror credit it has. It's overrated in that regard. That's all. Number 7 is Wes Craven's New Nightmare. This was supposed to be the movie that brings Freddy Krueger back to his roots of being a scary horror icon. And in a way, it does that. But it still falls in the same cheesy dumbness that all of them do, that all the Nightmare on Elm Streets have. And in the end, it makes him not scary again. It has the same problem that I think the later movies had. It's goofy. It's still goofy. Let's see. There's the whole mechanical hand thing. I think that's goofy. The little kid, I think, you know, Miko, I didn't like him in this movie. He drove me nuts. There's just so... It's supposed to bring it back to seriousness, and there's still so much goofiness. The tongue at the end, it's just fucking goofy. I don't think Freddy looks particularly good in this movie. I think he looked better in, like, for instance, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors. I think he looked great in that one. And I still think he looks great in the first movie. But this one, I didn't like the new look of Freddy. I didn't like the meta-ness, how it's super meta. I didn't like that. It just added to the goofiness that this is a horror movie. This is not something that's really happening, even though the whole point of the being meta was it's really happening. But for me, the whole meta of it made it just fucking dumb. I get what he was going for. I understand why people like it, but a lot of people look at New Nightmare as it revitalized the fucking franchise, and for me, it just didn't do that. I think it's one of the weaker entries. I didn't particularly like any of the kills. The kills weren't inventive to me. I don't think there's one memorable kill in this entire movie. Yeah, so with that being said, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, I'm sorry, Wes Craven, but this is not a fine movie. It's straight up, this is one of the few on this list that I think is overrated, number one, and just not good. I don't think this is a good movie. So yeah, let's move on. Number 6, we're going back to Wes Craven again, and I'm sorry, this is Scream. Unlike Wes Craven's New Nightmare, I actually do like Scream. I think Scream is a really good movie. I have fun watching it. I enjoy watching it. But it's overrated. I think Ghostface has a cool look, but let's be honest, he's the derpiest out of all the serial killers. He falls over like a freaking idiot all the time, multiple times in this movie. He does like pratfalls, you know, and it's just he's too kind of wacky and zany to be an iconic slasher to me. Like, I don't think he's up there with a Jason or a Michael Myers. He has a cool look. The look is really cool, which is ironic because during the making of it, they were kind of worried that the whole cloak, the robe, was going to look too goofy. to be together. But I think the look is great. I actually went as Ghostface for most of my Halloweens as a child. I was usually Ghostface. I do think it's a good movie. I think the meta-ness is used better in this movie than in New Nightmare. I like that there's not a lot of tropes in it, but it's just not that memorable to me. Everyone looks at that opening scene with Drew Barrymore, and that's what kind of makes it a classic to them, is that classic opening. It is a great opening, it is. But other than the opening and like the climax, the whole middle part is just a slog, and there's just nothing going on there to make it stand out as a special movie, as one of the best horror movies out there. It definitely, I don't think it deserved as many sequels as it got. It deserved rightfully to be spoofed in the Scary Movie movies. But yeah, it's just an overrated movie. I don't think Ghostface should be as iconic as a killer as he is. I just think the look of it and the feel of it is better than what the actual movie is. Yeah, so let's move on. Number 5 is The Grudge. Now, I'm not sure how well this did critically, but I know a lot of people talk about it as like, this is a movie that scared the shit out of people. It is based off of a Japanese film. I think it's Japanese. I might be wrong there. But it's called Ju-On. And again, I also think Ju-On is kind of overrated. But I put The Grudge on there just because more people talk about The Grudge than I hear about Ju-On. It got a few sequels. I think there's 3 sequels to this. I think there's 2 or 3 sequels to this, and I don't think any of them are good. I do think Kayoko, the Grudge lady, Kayoko, I think she is terrifying. But the movie itself just kind of feels very, very mid 2000s. It just feels like a dated movie. The characters are very bland. They're very plain Jane. The effects, I think, are good. But yeah, I just don't get why everyone thought this was such a marvel, and a lot of people look at it as a good remake, and I don't think it's a good remake. It doesn't have the same feel as Ju-On does. It just changed a lot. My trailer's over, so I'm gonna wrap it up here. There's not much to talk about. Most of us have seen this. I guess take your own opinions for it. This is another one that I don't think that I think is overrated, and I don't think it's a good movie. I think it's a poor movie. The only saving grace of it, I think, is the main antagonist, Kayoko. She is scary looking, but that's about it. Oh boy, number 4, the Amityville Horror.
It's the kind of house
my
they don't
mother
build
loves
anymore.
this movie,
The relic of a
and
time
I don't know
when
why.
The world wasn't in such a hurry.
Is
When
probably
there was still time
the
for a
worst
little
haunted
charm
house
and
movie
elegance.
I've
It has
probably
stood
ever
empty
seen.
for a long while.
That got like a wide
And at the
release.
price,
Obviously,
it's a
obviously there's
bargain.
worse movies out
For a
there
growing young
than the
family,
Amityville Horror.
it is
But I'm talking
almost
about like
too good
went to
to be
theaters,
true. What do you think?
had a budget, had names in it. This is probably the worst one. It feels like it's 9
James
hours
Brolin,
long. It is
Margot
such
Kidder,
a
Rod
goddamn
Steiger
boring
in
movie.
the Amityville Horror.
The sequels are all terrible too. The remake is terrible, and people, I hear about this movie so much, like, oh, one of the best haunted house movies, the Amityville Horror, and I just don't understand it. I will never get it. Nothing about this movie is scary. It's just the most milquetoast horror movie on the planet. It's not a good movie. It's a terrible movie. It looks fine, like shot-wise, like cinematography-wise, it looks fine. It looks like a movie. The acting, I guess, is okay. There's nothing that stands out. There's not a single part of this movie that stands out to me. Every time I do see it, I never know where I'm at because this whole movie just blends together in a big mash of awfulness. I just hate it. I just really, really hate it. The sequels are really bad. The second one has an incest plotline in it. I have it on VHS actually, which will be a prize at Crypticon this year. So come out. I just dated this video, but anyways, doesn't matter. This movie sucks. It's overrated. It gets a lot of praise that it shouldn't. Yeah, fuck this movie. Number 3 is Poltergeist. I'm conflicted on this movie a little bit because I do like it, but there are problems with it. And the problems are that it's dated, number 1, and it loses its identity multiple times, and it's overrated. What I mean by it doesn't know its identity, it's like it didn't know what tone it was going for. It starts off really lighthearted, like it's going to be a fun haunted house movie, which is fine, and then it turns darker, which is fine. But the problem comes in the climax, when things kind of go from regular haunted house movie with lots of poltergeist activity happening in it to we're going into other dimensions, and there's these big goofy spirit monsters coming out, and this little lady who talks like this. It just gets too off the walls for me, and it doesn't fit in with the rest of the movie. The acting is fine. I think it's shot well. There's a couple scenes that don't look great. My favorite scene in the whole movie when I was a kid was this part where he rips off his own face in the mirror, and even that doesn't look great anymore. The tree does not look good. The spirit at the end that comes out does not look good at all. That never looked good. The effects aren't great. The story is average. The climax makes the whole first, the rest of the movie just seem weird, and it doesn't fit in. Yeah, so it's the main fault of this movie is like the last act of it, the third act. But yeah, let's move on. It's an okay movie, I guess, but it doesn't deserve praise like that it gets, I guess, is what I'm saying. I don't know. Oh man, I'm gonna get some hate for this movie. So I don't want to be one of those people, but I'm going to be one of those people that say the book is better than the movie, because it is. And I've actually read the book. I've actually read it. Yes, me. I read the book. And I used to like this movie. I used to think I used to think it was a good movie until I read the book, and it changed my perception. So now I agree with Stephen King. And Stephen King famously does not like this movie because of Jack Torrance, this movie. And it's not to say that Jack Nicholson doesn't do a good job. He does. He does a great job. It's one of my favorite performances of his. But the problem with his character is that there's no arc for him. In the book, he starts off as a regular guy who's done some bad, questionable things in his past, and he's trying to redeem himself by getting this job at the hotel, and he falls into his demons, and he falls into a descent of madness. In this movie, he starts off as a dick right away. He kind of seems crazy right away. And then when he goes crazy, it's just like, oh, well, he's been crazy the whole fucking time. His relationship with his wife never seems like a real relationship. They always kind of seem like they hate each other, and in the book, it was not like that. It seemed very, not even once, it was zero-sided. Neither of them seemed like they gave a shit about each other ever in the whole movie. So my main problem with the movie is that there's no arc to the characters. It all just kind of happens. So I don't think The Shining is a bad movie. I think it's shot really well. Stanley Kubrick is one of my favorite directors, actually. I still think The Shining is a good movie, but it just doesn't follow the book close enough for me to warrant it being a masterpiece. Because for it to be a masterpiece, everything has to come together. And unfortunately, in this movie, it does not. So that's it. You can hate me below if you want. I would love to hear your hate. Let's bring it on. Number 1 is The Exorcist. The video should be playing here any second. There it is. Oh, it's not a bad movie. It's actually a really good movie. I think this is a really, really, really good movie. It's probably the best possession movie out there. My only issue is that people put it on a really high pedestal. It's always, every movie, every single year, every summer, something comes out, a horror movie comes out, and it says it's the best movie since The Exorcist. It's done this since The Exorcist, blah, 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 since The Exorcist. And I just don't think The Exorcist is the scariest movie I've ever seen in my life. I don't think it's up there for me. What I do think is up there for me personally, I think Evil Dead affected me the most. I can see why this movie affected a lot of people. especially back in when it was made. I get it. But I think there have been scarier movies since. I think there's been better movies since. Not to say that this movie doesn't hold up. You can still watch it and have a good time watching it. It is a little slow. It's kind of a slower movie, but the acting is done well. The effects are done really well. I don't think it's cheesy. It hasn't really aged, and it hasn't aged poorly or anything like that. The cinematography is great. I think I already said that. I'm kind of rambling because I'm nervous. Yeah, it's a great movie. It really is. But it's rated way too highly for what it also is, if that makes sense. I'm not saying this movie sucks. It's just the movie I hear people talk about the most, and I just don't think it should be that movie. I'm sorry. But I like The Exorcist, okay? I do. It's just, I'm sorry. That's it for this video. Make sure to check out our next couple of videos coming up. We're going to be doing the most underrated horror movies in my opinion. So we'll do that. That'll be the next video. So yeah. Like, subscribe, comment, hate me, love me, agree with me. Oh, here we go again. Alright. Bye guys.